My name is Liliana, I'm 32, and I run a small app development company that I love. My husband, Cody, is 37 and works at a bank. We're both passionate about our jobs and support each other, often chatting late into the night about work. Even though we've been married for 4 years, we don't have kids yet, but we'd like to have a family someday. I come from a supportive family. My parents own an auto parts factory, now managed by my brother. Thanks to them, I've had the freedom to follow my dream of starting my own company. Although our businesses are different, my dad and brother always offer advice and support, which means a lot to me. Cody's family, on the other hand, runs a small factory. As their only child, Cody was expected to take over, but he chose a different path. The factory wasn't doing well, and his dad, Andy, even thought about closing it. From a young age, Cody was inspired by a kind banker he met who left a strong impression on him. Cody decided he wanted to work in banking, so he studied hard and eventually joined a major bank, where he's now happy working. On the outside, our marriage seems good, but there's an ongoing issue with my mother-in-law, Fee. She doesn't respect my job because I work remotely sometimes. She thinks it's not real work, just because I can do it from home. She often pressures me to join family events, even threatening that I'm no longer family if I don't go. She's even implied that if I miss a family trip, Cody and I should divorce. It's frustrating because I do my best to work around the family's plans and make sure I'm never an inconvenience, but she doesn't understand or value what I do. Little did I know, this upcoming trip would be the last one I'd ever take with my in-laws. Some people think remote work is easy just because I have a flexible schedule, but that's not the case. My mother-in-law, Fee, also disapproves of other things about our lives. For example, when Cody and I got married, we built our house halfway between both of our parents' homes. It's less than a 30-minute drive to each house, even though the routes are different. As a dual-income couple, Cody and I value independence and privacy. We manage our money separately, contributing a set amount each month for household expenses and saving the rest individually. This arrangement works well for us, but Fee doesn't approve. She believes a couple shouldn't keep things private from each other or talk about privacy. To her, a real family should share everything. I sometimes feel that Fee finds fault with everything I do simply because she doesn't like me. She adores Cody, her son, and I often feel like an outsider. She also criticizes us for not having children yet. Even though it's a sensitive topic for me, I wish she wouldn't bring it up every time we meet, but she does, so I've started staying late at work just to avoid her. One incident with Fee, though, was especially hard to forgive. It happened right before my best friend's wedding. This wedding was extra special because my friend was moving abroad afterward, and we wouldn't see each other often anymore. A week before the wedding, Cody's father, Andy, asked me to attend an important business reception with him. I respectfully declined, as my friend's wedding was a priority for me. The only thing that would make me miss it would be an emergency in my family. But that evening, when I came home, my in-laws were at our house. The moment I walked in, Fee confronted me angrily, saying, "Liliana, how could you refuse Andy's request? You're Cody's wife. Family obligations should come first, and your refusal is unacceptable. You need to rethink your priorities." Fee yelled at me, and Cody was there, too, but he didn't say anything at first. Later, I learned that the reception was very important for the future of the company, but to me, my best friend's wedding was just as meaningful. I told Fee, "I understand what you're both saying, but my best friend's wedding is an important event for me, and I don't want to miss it. Besides, I'm not even an employee at Andy's company." Then, to my surprise, Cody spoke up. "Can't you make an exception this time?" he asked. "This is really about the company's survival. I'm going, too, and it's a family effort. We can make it up to you for missing the wedding. This is a family crisis. Can't you help us?" I was stunned. Cody knew how much I'd been looking forward to this wedding, so I never expected him to say that. Then Andy added, "I understand your point, Liliana, but this time, we really need your help." The pressure was intense, and it was hard to refuse. In the end, I reluctantly agreed to skip my best friend's wedding. When I explained the situation to my friend, she understood and was more concerned about how I was feeling than anything else. I felt lucky to have such a supportive friend, even though I felt guilty about missing her big day. Once I decided to attend the reception, I put my energy into making it a success. On the day of the event, Cody and I arrived early. I tried calling Fee to check in, but she didn't answer her phone. Finally, my in-laws arrived just 10 minutes before the reception was supposed to start, looking disheveled, with messy hair and wrinkled clothes. I was shocked and asked, "Fee, what happened?" Today's an important reception. Why do you look like this? She awkwardly replied, I just overslept. And Liliana, make sure you're not rude today. I was so close to snapping back. I don't want to hear that from you. But somehow, I held my tongue and kept my composure. During the reception, however, Fee made several rude comments to our guests, not realizing how inappropriate she sounded. Fee seemed to think her comments at the reception were funny, but the guests' awkward smiles showed they didn't find her jokes amusing. As expected, we didn't secure the contract, and the event ended unsuccessfully. I thought to myself that if I'd known it would go like this, I would have gone to my best friend's wedding instead. I felt frustrated, having missed such an important day with my friend, only to end up at this disastrous reception. To make things worse, my in-laws didn't seem to see anything wrong with how it turned out. They even said things like, after such a big event and no contract, it's like dealing with con artists. Good thing we didn't make a deal with such strange people. I was speechless. They were completely oblivious to the reality of the situation. After this incident, I felt even more uncomfortable around my in-laws and started avoiding them as much as I could. But there was one thing I couldn't escape: Cody's family tradition of going on an annual family trip. This tradition had started when Cody was a kid, and it continued even after we got married. I was expected to join every year, but these trips were exhausting for me. I was always the one stuck with the chores and logistics, driving, booking hotels, researching tourist spots, and handling all the tedious tasks. If I ever tried to voice my opinion or suggest something, I was immediately shut down and told, don't overstep. Even when we visited tourist spots, I was often left behind at the hotel and didn't get to see the places I was interested in. Honestly, I dreaded these trips every year and even hoped I might fall ill on the day so I wouldn't have to go. The time for this year's family trip arrived, and even though my in-laws claimed they were financially tight, they insisted on planning another lavish trip. As usual, I was given the job of finding and booking the hotel. I put a lot of effort into planning, hoping to keep Fee, who's always quick to complain, in a good mood. Since I don't drink, I'm also expected to be the driver, which I don't mind because it lets me avoid some of their conversations. But just before the trip, a crisis happened. My mom collapsed and was in critical condition. Under these circumstances, going on a trip wasn't even an option for me. I was overwhelmed with worry and knew I needed to get to my mom as soon as possible. Since it was the day before the trip, I told Cody I was canceling and started preparing to go to the hospital. Cody offered to come with me, but I declined. It felt like he was assuming the worst about my mom's condition, and I didn't want to hear that. Together, we went to tell Fee that we wouldn't be going on the trip. She exploded in anger, saying, "You're saying you can't go on the trip I planned? If you don't come, you're no longer family. As my son's wife, you should prioritize this family trip. Isn't that right, Cody?" She looked at Cody, clearly expecting him to agree, and cut him off when he seemed like he wanted to say something different. I was so shocked by her reaction that I didn't know what to say. Nothing was more important than being with my mom in her critical state. Just then, my brother called. He told me that while mom's condition was serious, she was stable. Unfortunately, because of a contagious illness outbreak, I couldn't visit her right now. He mentioned that if she recovers, I could come for a short visit later, so there was no rush to be there immediately. Hearing this, I hesitated, unsure of what to do next. Sensing my hesitation, my brother asked what was wrong. I explained my situation to my brother, sharing my dilemma about the trip. He seemed a bit frustrated but suggested a solution I hadn't considered. The trip destination was actually near my parents' home. He assured me that if my mom's condition worsened, I could get to the hospital quickly from the hotel. Since I wasn't allowed to visit her in the hospital yet, staying at home or at the hotel wouldn't really make a difference. Taking his advice, I told Fee, "All right, I'll go on the trip." She responded with, "Goodness, if you had said that from the start, I wouldn't have had to get angry. Marrying someone so naive is such a hassle. Remember, if you don't come, it's divorce." She even added, "I'll have to re-educate you from now on." Cody looked surprised by her comments, but we agreed to go on the trip under the condition that I could leave for the hospital if needed. Fee smirked and remarked, "It'd be a problem if our driver suddenly disappeared, right? You're part of this family now, so our needs come first. Remember your role as my son's wife. This is an important family event." Her smug attitude annoyed me, but I kept quiet to avoid further conflict. On the day of the trip, I was so worried about my mom that I couldn't stop checking my phone. Meanwhile, Fee had already started drinking beer in the morning, turning the back seat of my car, where I was the designated driver, into a mini party. I was surprised to see Cody joining in on the drinking, but since everyone had cleared their schedules for this trip, I reminded myself to let them enjoy it. Throughout the drive, Fee made constant demands, asking me to stop for the bathroom or to pick up more alcohol from a store. I felt like a chauffeur, but I was prepared to endure it. Then, my phone rang. It was my brother. He told me that Mom had survived, her condition had stabilized, and she had regained consciousness. Her diagnosis was subarachnoid hemorrhage. I still couldn't fully relax since there were concerns about potential after effects from my mom's condition. It was comforting, though, to have my brother updating me regularly. Feeling anxious, I shared the news of my mom's recovery with my in-laws, but Fee responded with, "If she's better, there's no need to bother us with this. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Andy chimed in, "Exactly, don't spoil our trip with grim news, we're here to enjoy ourselves." I was shocked and disgusted by their attitude. It made me feel like these people were strangers rather than family. Throughout the trip, they made a noisy scene at the hotel, drinking and partying in ways that were embarrassing. This experience only deepened my distrust of my in-laws. Thankfully, my mom's condition stayed stable, so I didn't have to rush to the hospital. We completed the trip and returned home, which was a relief. While I was sorting through our laundry after the trip, Fee showed up at our house. She said, "You have a dryer here, right? We don't have one, so let me use yours," and appeared with a big pile of laundry. Feeling exasperated, I replied, "There's a laundromat with dryers nearby. I have my own laundry to do, and I'm using the dryer right now, so it's not possible." Fee huffed, "Always so stingy. Once you're done, just finish mine too. I'll pick it up tomorrow," and tried to leave her laundry in our washroom. Cody stepped in and said firmly, "Go to a laundromat. Liliana is tired, and she has work tomorrow. It's not possible." Fee was furious. Feeling that her son was defending me, she stormed out, slamming the door and leaving her laundry behind, shouting insults as she went. Looking back, I sometimes wonder if things could have gone differently that day and changed what happened next. A little later, Fee returned and said, "During the trip, I realized something. Liliana, you don't seem to understand what it means to be married to Cody. We might face more issues like this in the future, and since we couldn't settle it, I think it's time for you to make a decision." She then placed a family contract and divorce papers on the table. I was stunned. A family contract? The idea was absurd and only reinforced my belief that she was unreasonable. But Cody's response was the silver lining. He said, "I have something to say. If you keep forcing your one-sided views on us, I'll cut ties. I can't put up with this anymore. Do you even understand who Liliana is? She's my wife, not your servant or your housekeeper. You're the one misunderstanding your role here." Fee was shocked. Cody had rarely confronted her before, not because he agreed with her, but to avoid conflict. She turned her anger toward me, accusing me of changing. "Cody, since marrying you, he's different. He used to be so sweet. It's insane for him to talk to me like that. You must have brainwashed him. Turn him back into the old Cody," she demanded. Cody stood his ground and said, "The one doing the brainwashing is you. You always explode without listening to anyone else's opinion. Honestly, you've been a toxic parent, never letting me live the life I wanted. Instead of accepting our marriage, you've been taking it out on Liliana. Enough is enough. I'm not getting a divorce, and if you have a problem with that, you should stay out of our lives." Hearing this, Fee turned to Andy, who was with her, and burst into tears.